Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. In today's video, we've got multiple news items, including NASCAR addressing Chase Elliott's pit road penalty on Sunday at Homestead, Miami, and why it denied his appeal to change it. Noah Gragson getting honest about how he feels about one of the most prized trophies in NASCAR in the Martinsville grandfather clock. Joey Logano warning NASCAR that it's flirting with disaster, and Kevin Harvick sharing his concerns for a pair of drivers, including, to no one's surprise, Ty Gibbs. We also have our By the Numbers segment with our last 5 races analysis and an updated race progression graph that's getting rave reviews online. However, before we start crunching numbers and showing flashy graphics, I want to go back to Monday and an interview I heard with Noah Gragson on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. The Front Row Motorsports driver discussed his weekend at Homestead, where his strong qualifying effort of third ended with a 16th place finish. After that, the conversation shifted to this upcoming weekend at Martinsville, where the 26-year-old had some success at the track in the past, including 4 top 5 finishes at the Paperclip in the Xfinity Series, one of those being a win in 2021. We all know, as I mentioned in the intro, one of the coolest trophies in NASCAR and all of sports is that grandfather clock. According to Gragson, that coolness factor can wear off.
And the coolest thing about going to Martinsville is the trophy with the grandfather clock and all the history with the track and the trophy. And the best part is it reminds you that you've won a race there every 15 minutes when you wind the thing up. So it's pretty sick.
I had to ask my husband to turn that chime off. It was getting a little busy around here, and I didn't want to hear it. But I know it's
pretty annoying. It's obnoxious and annoying. I only wind them up race week, so I got to go home and wind them up right now.
You only wind the clocks on race week?
only on Martinsville week. Because they ding like
never
every
would think
15
to do
minutes.
that.
It gets obnoxious. Yeah.
I just had to laugh along with Danielle Trotta when he said he only winds it up on race week. As a kid, I actually remember my grandparents had a grandfather clock too, and I vividly remember it going off every quarter hour, but the best I can recall, I didn't really find it obnoxious. But you have to appreciate Gregson's honesty. Moving on to yesterday, and once again listening to SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and the weekly appearance by a NASCAR official discussing the weekend's previous races. This week was Senior Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer. And of course, one of the topics of discussion was the pit road penalty to Chase Elliott. A reminder, here's what happened on Sunday.
We got a penalty for not being single file coming on the pit road. I just have them look at it because I gave the spot back. They all checked up. I moved left to not run in the back of someone, and then I gave him the spot back before I even turned down. Just have them look at it. That's a very reasonable thing. Alan, that's going to be on you talking to them down here. They don't want to hear it up here. I'm trying. There was zero advantage there. Was simply just trying to not hit the guy. I mean, I don't know what they want. I don't know what to do any different. So newsflash, they're not interested in anything but their decision, so that's where we're at. Yeah, it was a lot of fun when we used to be able to race, but now it's just, go back to law school, got to be a litigator, so many rules. I honestly, truthfully don't understand that one, but all good. Yeah, it's just like everything else. There's a box, and you got to fit into a box, so if you're different, you're going to be penalized.
And here's what Sawyer had to say about it.
The reason the rule is in place is for its safety. So in the case with the 9, and I believe he was beside the 2, and if you just imagine that the 2 is pitting in the very first pit box. So if he's in line, and as soon as he crosses the pit entry line, then he's going to be turning left to get into his box. Well, if there's another car, in this case it was a 9, if he's there, then he's just going to turn him around on pit road. We can see chaos without introducing it on our own, as we saw with the 22 and the 21. But in this case, you just need to be single file enter. It's pretty straightforward. If you look at the in-car of the 9, it really gives you a really good indication of exactly what happened there. So hopefully that kind of clears it up.
Quite honestly, when you look at Elliott's in-car, as Sawyer suggested, the ruling makes sense, and there was no reason to rescind the penalty. It didn't matter that he gave the spot back. The rule is being single file coming down to pit road, and clearly that was not what happened. Later on in the morning, Joey Logano made his weekly appearance on his Behind the Wheel segment on the channel. They talked about his race and unsurprisingly focused on the pit road incident with Josh Berry that effectively hindered any chances of the number 22 team having a good day. But I thought the most interesting part of the conversation was when Logano was asked about potentially widening the extremely narrow pit road to avoid such incidents from happening in the future, and where the three-time champion took the discussion.
I don't know what their plans are as far as renovations down there, but I would put that as the number one priority. Not because of not because of wrecks on pit road, but because of the safety risk for the pit crew, right? Like, we are flirting with it. Like, we are flirting with disaster on that pit road. And yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see that at all, right? And especially these people, I mean, these guys have been a lot of them have been in the sport for a long time. There's a lot of relationships there. So like, it's a real thing. And no one wants to see that on TV, someone getting crushed, and I mean, the long-term impact, even if you're okay, right? Like, of an injury that a big old stock car comes running at you, right? Like, you got to think, like, it's one thing when there's a car coming at you and you see it and you jump up in the air and it's not good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still going to be really bad. But when your back is to a car, right? Like, if you're a tire changer and you're on your knees, you're low, right? You're changing a tire and a car comes sliding at you and you can't see it coming and you can't get out of the way. Oh my God, right? Like, if you can get up and aim for the windshield, everyone knows that's better. But if you don't see it coming and you can't get out of the way, and it happened. I mean, it happens so fast. So, yeah. If they're already doing a lot of work, if they can move, make pit wall or make pit road, 10 feet wider would be a world of difference. And I don't know, like, even if you slow down the pit road speed, which is probably the easiest thing to do, it still doesn't really fix the problem, right? Like, Josh and I weren't even up to pit road speed when we went spinning around, right? Like, I was just getting going. So, yeah, it's kind of a scary, sketchy thing. I feel like we're flirting with disaster on that one, right? We're definitely playing with fire.
I know after having multiple conversations with Jeff Cordero, the front tire changer for William Byron, Logano is exactly right. Pit crew members are trained if you see a car coming toward you to jump just before it hits you and try to get airborne. You'd much rather be in the air when the car hits you and go into the windshield than get run over. But now add in what he's talking about, and these guys are on the ground changing a tire, not even aware that another car is coming toward them, and it could be disastrous. And like he said, it happens fast. When you rewatch the clip from Logano's in-car camera, you can see the guys in Daniel Suarez's pit box are there seconds before. And fortunately, where Logano stopped in Noah Gragson's pit box, it was clear. But it's just a wrong place, wrong time type of thing, and we could have a really ugly incident, as the Team Penske driver said, no one wants to see. Scary stuff indeed. Also yesterday, I listened to Kevin Harvick's podcast, and after reviewing the weekend's races at Homestead, he talked about drivers he has concerns with. Unsurprisingly, Ty Gibbs was once again in that category. But then he brought up another driver who I haven't really heard talked about that much so far this year. Take a listen.
Definitely concerned for the 54. Really concerned for the 6 car. They have not qualified well. They've raced okay a few times. I think that's probably as much as anything is Brad's experience.
After hearing that, I went and looked at Keselowski's numbers. His best finish was an 11th at Las Vegas. His next best was a 15th at COTA. All the rest are 26th or worse. And as Harvick mentioned, the number 6 team hasn't qualified well. 9th at Atlanta was the best starting position. Next best was 20th at Phoenix. Like Gibbs, Keselowski has a new crew chief pairing, reuniting with his former crew chief, Jeremy Bullins. The next 2 races at Martinsville and Darlington should give us an even better indication if the RFK Racing team is heading in the right direction. Keselowski has a pair of wins at both tracks, including his last win in the number 6 car a year ago on the Lady in Black. Speaking of new driver crew chief pairings, Chase Briscoe has that going on with him in his move to Joe Gibbs Racing and the number 19 team. Yesterday, he was interviewed on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and talked about his solid fourth place finish at Homestead. He was also asked about what it's been like moving over to JGR, and I thought he provided a really insightful answer.
So I definitely think that they've just made me more aware of things that honestly I kind of struggled at, that, I didn't even necessarily know that I did struggle at. For example, every week, they're judging, they call it the entry gap to pit road, how far you are away from the car in front of you as you, get to that pit road speed line. And in the past, I always was like 29th, 30th on average. And I didn't even know that because I never really saw those analytics, where that's been something they've been like hammering on me all year long. And I think right now I'm like 4th or 5th out of the whole season. So just little things like that as a driver, you don't even necessarily know about. And then once they, are kind of come aware to you, you can start work on. And that's something that JGR has definitely done. It's just made me way more aware of areas I can get better. And it's been fun, honestly, trying to improve all those different areas.
Really interesting to hear how JGR is much more into the details and the little things like the entry gap to pit road, which is obviously something that wasn't happening at Stewart-Haas Racing. When I heard him talk about that, I couldn't help but think of the other Chase's penalty on Sunday for his lack of an entry gap onto pit road. All right, speaking of analytics, it's now time for our By the Numbers segment, and I'm really excited to show you guys the updated graphics from my buddy Joel Stewman on race progression. These graphics got some love this week on social media from several folks I follow, including the Athletics' Jeff Gluck. Remember, you can see all these graphics yourself on Stube.com, including Gluck's good race poll numbers for all the races this season. First up on race progression, I want to go to Chase Briscoe and the JGR cars and show you what their day looked like at Homestead. As you can see, the number 19 team started 4th, stayed up front through that first stage, had a little drop off in stage 2, and recovered for a nice run to end the day in 4th. Denny Hamlin also had a strong finish to his day, starting 23rd and steadily making his way forward. Christopher Bell spun in that first stage and his day went downhill from there. And Ty Gibbs, well, he was Ty Gibbs of 2025 and finished in 25th place, his 4th finish of 25th or worse in the season's first 6 races. Going to the other powerhouse 4-car organization at Hendrick Motorsports, and I think it's really interesting to see, similar to last week, the HMS cars all operated in the top half of the graph throughout the day, with Larson obviously getting his win, Bowman finishing 2nd, and Byron and Elliott both tailing off in that last stage, the number 9 driver's pit road penalty at the end of stage 2 proving costly. Moving on to Team Penske and the Wood brothers. You can see all 4 cars started in the top dozen. They stayed there through stage 1, and then Logano and Berry fell off after that pit road incident. Blaney was definitely one of the best cars on the 1.5 mile track, winning the first stage, finishing 3rd in the second stage, and leading a race-high 124 laps. But his grenaded engine late in the race sent him plummeting to a 36th place result for his 3rd consecutive DNF. The aforementioned Brad Keselowski and his RFK team had different days. As you can see, the 2012 Cup champion stayed mired near the back of the pack the entire day. Chris Buescher ran steady and had a strong finish, while Priest started next to Keselowski and made his way forward for a strong 9th place result, his 2nd consecutive top 10 after finishing 3rd the week before in Las Vegas. The boys at Trackhouse had a day they just as soon forget. SVG stayed in the back of the field all day, while Daniel Suarez started near the back, moved his way forward in that first stage, and finished 22nd. The Mellon Man followed a similar path to his number 99 teammate, moving up in the first stage, but ended up finishing 31st, just in front of his number 88 teammate. And lastly, we'll take a look at 2311 Racing, and I found it really interesting to see how the numbers 23 and 45, which are set up identically, ran that way from the first stage on, both finishing inside the top 10. Rookie Riley Herbst is still trying to figure it out. And now it's time to move on to our last 5 races analysis, and we have a new driver at the top. Last week, in our first last 5 of the season, William Byron was at the top of the board with an average finishing position of 8.0. This week, Byron has been supplanted by Christopher Bell. The Joe Gibbs Racing driver's 3 wins have him at the top, despite his last 2 races and finishes of 12th and 29th. Moving into second with an AFP of 9.6 is Kyle Larson, whose lone blemish in the last 5 was his 32nd at COTA. He's got all top 10s outside of that. Following Larson is a tie with, you guessed it, his HMS teammates, William Byron and Alex Bowman. Both have an average finishing position of 10.2. The number 24 has been good over the last 4 especially, The 12th place is the only finish outside of the top 10. But look at the number 48. He's been just as good over his last 4 races. That 26 drops off for him next week, and if he has a good finish at the paperclip, he could move up the board. They are followed by Denny Hamlin at 11.8, who's had an up and down last 5 races, no doubt. Chris Buescher has also been steady over his last 4 races, in particular with 3 top 10s, and sits at 12.2. Chase Elliott comes in next at 12.4, and like last year, nothing spectacular but consistent with all of his results inside the top 20. Moving to the opposite end of our list, and you can see some big names at the bottom, including Ryan Blaney at 24.4, his last 3 races disastrous DNFs. Behind Blaney is his former Penske teammate Keselowski, who is at 24.8 with 3 finishes in the last 5 races of 25th or worse. And behind him in 34th with an AFP of 27.6 is Ty Gibbs. Looking at his numbers, you can at least say he's been consistent. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. I'm curious to get your thoughts on what we discussed. Let's start with Joey Logano's remarks on the narrow pit road at Homestead and NASCAR flirting with disaster. I didn't mention it in the video, but Logano also said that Gateway is even more narrow and worries that something might happen there. The question I have is, will NASCAR do anything about it? Or should they? Next, I want to hear what you think about Gragson's comments on his Martinsville trophy, the grandfather clock. If you've ever been around one, annoying and obnoxious or fine for you. And what about Harvick's comments about Brad Keselowski? All you Brad K fans, are you concerned or do you feel like the veteran driver will right the ship with his new former crew chief? And what did you think about Chase Briscoe's remarks on how JGR really gets into the details of analytics and how that compares to what they did at SHR? And speaking of analytics, let me know what you thought of the updated race progression graphs and what you thought of our last 5 races analysis. If you want me to focus on any other drivers or teams next week, let me know and I'll try to do it. Thanks again for checking out the latest episode and supporting the channel. I really and truly appreciate it and hope you have a great rest of your day.